Step into a world of faith and enlightenment with Path of Faith, where we explore the challenges and triumphs of the human spirit through the lens of religious teachings and divine guidance.
The healing that God realizes in our lives often goes through the reorientation of our ways, the cure for thought. That only when we are healed of thought do we be able to refer solutions to our problems. Or even to recognize that we are in the wrong way. Our diseases come to us by our thinking, especially these days when we think so badly, because we are little stimulated to a deeper, broader thought. I have said that, you've heard me so many times, it's a feature of post-compliance, post-modernity. I don't know what a name we can give us right now. We are very reactive, uncomfortable. And this excessive reaction is precisely the large number of stimuli that we receive all the time to have an answer. All the time we need to have an opinion. We need to position ourselves. Although we have not reflected enough to take that position, even if we don't even have answers to those questions, we associate our reactions with our living being. And that's so strange, right? We lost fertility because we are too reactive. You experience this in your life, and each of us experiences according to the stimuli we have. The most stimulated will certainly have even more need to position itself, because it is present in so many places in so many ways. I see for WhatsApp, right? If you participate in many groups, all the time you are encouraged to feel angry, to be at peace. It depends on the content of the group. To say, speaking, positioning yourself, and this is generating a deficit within us. Sometimes we are exhausted at the end of the day and we don't know why. It is even a mental tiredness of having realized so many stimuli, answers to many stimuli. I personally, my people, I think it will be getting harder and harder for us to be fertilized men and women, because fertility requires the opposite, right? It requires retreat, silence, serenity, tranquility, everything we do not have today. I often say that we are protagonists of a time that has never been the same in another moment in the history of humanity. We have had many equal phenomena, similar at different times in history. But what today we live in wearing this communication access at our disposal. This access of information, never in the history of humanity people have been exposed to it. So we are protagonists of a time that has not yet been lived to know the consequences of this in us. We are stimulated all the time. We have a huge ease of communicating, of connecting with others. Our children are already being born this way, and the consequences we have not seen yet, because we are starring. No one lived this before us to know what it would cause. We already know what excess salt does in a person's life, because many generations have died before us because of excess salt in food. We have seen many people die because of cigarettes, because other people lived before us. I keep thinking, until science has come to the conclusion, the cancer association with tobacco. How many people, how many whole generations died without knowing what to use that cigarette, smoking that cigarette, stimulate cancer cells, cancer cell production? How many people died for not knowing? How many people died because they did not know that excess salt raised blood pressure, increased the risk of strokes? People died of it and we didn't even know what had happened to them. In other centuries, people died of a phenomenon that is common today, of course. Things have not changed. Salt continues to hurt. But today we are aware. We have advanced to understand what was lived before us with the eye science. We already know that cigarette kills. So if today I turn a cigarette, I already turn aware of the evil that it provokes me. Addiction is a brain mobilization that makes us forget the harms of what we are looking for. So when I am addicted to a given situation, I get blind to what is evil about what I addict. That's why a person, even though she is aware that the cigarette is bad, she lights her cigarette anyway. And it continues to feed a death cycle, because it throws all the time to the body toxic substances, which are bad. It's strange because we choose it. More part, alcohol is the same thing. How many people died before us? alcohol sequences. So today we are starring in a time that deprives us, a lifestyle that deprives us a lot of stillness, silence, concentration. I challenge you. I challenge how much you have been reading in recent times because of your cell phone. The cell phone steals our time that was once from reading. I'm not just talking about one person. No, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of people who have had their habits modified because of their cell phone. But I see news on my cell phone. See very superficially, right? We just read the calls. We hardly click on the link to see the whole news. The books are no longer manufactured. Publishers are bankrupt. Bookstores are closing, which is an irreparable loss for building a society. It is unfortunate that your child no longer has contact with books the same way you had. Guys, I remember me. In my childhood, I chose to win books at Christmas. On Children's Day, I wanted to see myself happy. I was going to give me a gift book. I keep thinking how hard it should be to have a child today who wants to earn a gift book because we are encouraged to practices that are different. I'm not saying that we are worse or better. I am just saying that we are different. And that the cultivation of this lifestyle light is already causing damage to us, that we can already identify one of them. Is precisely the inability to reflect on what we are living. I think we were never so cattle. So mechanical in conducting our lives as these days. I heard of cattle. Here marked, heard happy. Zay Ramalho is right. So today, our lifestyle, when I say that God needs to heal us, that God heals us according to the disease of every time. Jesus healed the leper a lot, which was a very typical disease of that time. Today, well, we have much less lepers. We hardly see leprosy anymore. Thank God. Jesus healed diseases that were proper that time. And if today, my people, we can elect a disease that is common to all of us, it is precisely our inability to reflect. It is our excess dispersed. I, as a retreat, and I don't like to retreat to many people whenever I will preach and retreat, and I preach for pleasure, see? From time to time, I have my center of spirituality there. It is not a place that I want to be full. It is not a place that I want curious people to know how it is. I want search people of desire. Deepening. But I'll say something to you today, the biggest challenge. Even in a retreat house, with the desire to live a recollection. And it is not a long time. One day, a day and a half, 2. Because people do not get more than that. The biggest difficulty we have is to make these people turn off their worlds. And there is always an excuse, my people. I need news for my children. I need my husband's news. I need my mother's news. It is amazing how we are justified today to be scattered. Thing that did not happen in other times. If I climb to the mountains, to Campos do Giorno, to make a retreat, I would have the landline of my house and look there. My house didn't even have a landline. We left a contact number. Look, if something happens and it really is necessary to talk to me, call. Simplicity, so that we can be Jerusalem, the city of the great temples. We can be Jericho, the city of great miracles. We can be the Sea of Galilee, the place of the great encounters finally. Each day, we are a little of this holy land, Now we are the place of the miracle. Sometimes we are the place of silence. No matter what the place is, where you identify with today, the important thing is that you are aware that of those many places that make up the Holy Land, you are one of them today. Look how it is. A lot of people, I will give you a simple example for you to understand. There are people who need to break with dating who are terrible, disastrous. That person only hurts you. You know it? But you have a bond with them. You have affective need. You can't break that relationship. So you suddenly encourage yourself. You get all clear before you. This person doesn't do me good. I can't marry that person. Because if in the time of dating is already like this, imagine at the time of my marriage, then in my married time, will become even worse hell than it already is. Then you encourage yourself, motivated by people next to you to break. This is terrible the day you break. Suffering is cruel within you. It seems that you will never recover again, that you only think of that person. Why? Because although it makes you so bad, you have a sick bond with it, of affective dependence. You know she is bad for you, but you don't know how to live without her. Then you start to take steps. The first week is horrible. You suffer. You cry. You can't hear the music. You can't smell it. You can't see that little piece of I don't know what he forgot at your home. That all that is terrible. But suddenly you start taking steps for liberation. It's like you are walking towards a land that will only do you good. And a month later, that suffering was better. 2 months later, that better suffering. And suddenly you are no longer remembering. Of course, there is still a silent bond being disarmed. Because affective dependence, it does not die from night. We need it. It's as if you are choking a cancer cell with the chemotherapy process, you know? That you are removing the life of the cancer cell, which is the cell that kills us. Then let's say 3 months later, you meet again with that person and you have that famous relapse. There it is ready. The castle you were building, the floor you had been walking, which had been so difficult, you throw it away and you come back to Egypt. You come back to slavery. You do the same as Moses' companions wanted to do, eat onion again, eat the rotten, damaged food again. Then you resume that relationship because it is sick and you have not taken care of the proper distance you should maintain. Because when you have this affective dependence, you have to establish the distance, because otherwise you don't heal. You have to stop wanting to know about that person's life, because otherwise you don't heal. You need to stop running down her Facebook, because otherwise you don't heal. You need to stop investigating your life, where she went, where she was. You have to cease all points that may make you want to go back to Egypt, because otherwise you will never break free. Then 3 months later, you are beautiful and beautiful already, killing the cancer cell. You will give some more kisses on the mouth. Come back, that horrible dependence and hell returns in your life. In your first week is even good that everything is coming back. In a moment, my daughter, you are in hell worse than you were 3 months ago. And so, when we do not know how to live the discomfort that builds us, we get boycotted all the time. It's like stopping drinking. It's like stopping smoking. You run out of smoking a year and you celebrate because you have stopped throwing that carcinogenic toxin into your body. And suddenly you go there and light a silly cigarette. And that addiction comes back like a monster capable of eating you whole hell. All that sacrifice you made of the early days without smoking go to the bag. Why? All that sacrifice goes to the bag. Why? Because you were not able to live the discomfort of renouncing. My people, it's impressive how this hand of God helps us like this, making us aware of what we need to break in our lives. These are situations that we need to set limits for them, because otherwise we will never be healed. We will be eternally ill in line with the needy, crying and begging a bolt of kindness of the other, a roll of affection for each other. For God's sake, we were not made for it. We did not go made to drag effectively dependent on others. We were made to love, and love only makes sense in our life if it is to build us, if it is to help us cross the discomfort of the desert. Otherwise, it makes no sense. This pseudo-love, this false love that sometimes we say feels for each other, that does not help us in the discomfort of the desert. I need to live my deserts. You need to live yours. And true friends are those who recognize the deserts the other needs to pass and speak. That's right. Let's go through this desert because you need it. Now, Apolloniana, she wants that happy, ordained life. Remember that character? Apolloniana, where everything was the happy game, right? So as to murder this childish instinct that exists within you, which makes you afraid of life's discomfort. The discomfort of life, when well lived, it only makes us better. Take this little poor mask that you stick to your face for others to be eternally sorry for you. You only waste time in life like this. What a silly. God holds us in our hand is to be able to cross this desert. It is not to be falling forever and again eating the onions of Egypt because we had pity of us, because we had to pity the other. No. The walk is forward that goes. And a moment comes when Moses arrives before God and speaks. Now you solve this situation. Because I don't know more what to do. They have already built a gold calf in the middle of the way, have already confused. They are already loving even other situations. Then not even remembering that the Lord exists. They just don't come back because it's too far away, but they return in another way. Do not return in geography. They do not come back geographically because it was far from Egypt. They would die halfway, but they did not return geographically, but they returned affectionately. Because sometimes we have already surpassed the territory of our physical slavery. I already got out of jail, but the jail didn't leave me. That's how it works. I already stepped towards my freedom, but didn't achieve my freedom. I did not decree the conquest of my freedom, so I am affectionately attached to my past, mourning the onions of Egypt, mourning the dating that ended, the situation that was over, the friendship that was betrayed. So when Moses is before the Red Sea and he gets terrified, because now they had nowhere to go, or cross the sea, or return to Egypt, and the Pharaoh's army was already coming to capture them. That he does. He has a private meeting with the Lord, a particular urgent audience. Call God's secretary and speak. For God's sake, you ask him to serve me today, that I can no longer be without that answer. Pharaoh's army is coming. And then he thinks God would give him an easy answer, right? Was going to give a quick solution? No. What does God speak? Remember, Gil? Remember? Run. Right? Enter this water. Look what a strong phrase. Tell the people to walk. I will not do for you what only you can do. I will give all the graces to make the miracle happen. I will strengthen your courage. But if you do not put your foot in the water, if you do not challenge the sea, it does not open. And that's what the people did. And today, motivated by the trip of the Holy Land, which today is the first opportunity I have to be with you, after having stepped on the ground, the same one who saw Jesus grow. You look at those places where he grew up, the places he certainly frequented, the things that enchanted his eyes, which filled his eyes. Somehow we start to know a little more friend of us. If we have the opportunity to go to the roots of our friendships, we certainly become more friendly, because it causes within us a form of knowledge that coexistence might not have given fully. Know the root, where our great friends was born. I confess to you that this was the mystique that took the Holy Land, knowing that I was knowing the floor of my best friend, life, the place where it sprouted, where all the great events took place, looking at the Sea of Galilee and thinking that it was there that Jesus found his friends. Put our foot in that water and think that even though it is not the same water from that moment, somehow we can set a bridge. Somehow we can also feel like that time. Look there, the Holy Sepulchre. To think that the root of our faith is there. I wondered, my people, what brings sacredness to a place? What makes a land be holy? And it was so that we said goodbye to the Holy Land in the last celebration we performed there. A land is wider as it is loaded with meanings. The concept of the sacred is that it is you to remove from the commonplace, and you put in a reserved place. The sacred is what you have selected in the midst of everything that is ordinary, everything that is common, and you bring to a different atmosphere. It is you to remove the place every day, and you put it in the special place. When we say that the earth is holy, that it is sacred, it is because somehow the events that took place there were taken from the ordinary and became special for many people. So that we need to remove the sandal of the feet the same way as Moses listened. Remove the sandal from the feet to enter a territory that a territory that is holy because it is a sacred place for many people. It is a place of meaning for many people, including for me. Stepping the Holy Land was to recognize the places of my meanings. There, seeing the place where Jesus lived is somehow transporting me. To think that today everything I believe, everything that moves me as a priest, as a man, was there that happened. It was there that everything that moves our faith happened. How wonderful, my people. It is us to return from the Holy Land with the desire to sanctify what is ours. To think that I am also invited to make my land a holy land. Discover on the ground of my house, on the floor of my house, the same sacredness that is in the Holy Land. Because only faith, meaning, can make this bridge between my heart and the Holy Land that I stepped on. Then I collect the sacredness to me too, and I begin to pronounce my name by recalling me that I am also a holy territory for a very simple reason. The same God who walked in that land also walks here. The same Jesus who stepped on that soil also stepped here. And even if you have never stepped on the Holy Land, you can also say, I am also a holy soil. Because if the soil gets holy because the sacred stepped on it, ready, you are also a saint territory. Because God passes you time all. You are also Jericho. You are also Galilee. You are also Galilee. You are also Jerusalem. Where God goes through all the time and happens, the soil of his heart, the soil of his... We are also Holy Land. We are the extension of that holy place. In us God also happens. Just as God elected a small place in the world, a place full of contradiction, a place full of wars, God chose that place, the belly button of the world, to fully manifest in his Son, Jesus' Son. Because the mystery of the Incarnation needed homeland, needed a city, needed a place. Belém, a small town in the countryside, a poor town, that's where God chose. Who knows today you also recognize yourself that the poverty of your heart makes you similar to Bethlehem, a town hidden in the middle of so many others. How many times do we feel this, right? How many times do we look at us and feel a city hidden in the midst of so many other cities? But then, in this place that my eyes do not reach, that may not even come to the knowledge of many people. Because the mystery of the Incarnation, it has its historical unfolding in each of us. God remains embodied by the strength of his Son in us. It is the mystery of the resurrection. It is the mystery of the Incarnation. It is the mystery of God's continuity in time. God continues to happen in you and you. So that we can be Belém, the city of vine. Father Fábio, do you keep doing the same thing? Acting so hostile? My daughter, the dynamics of forgiveness, she always... First, we don't have to tell how many times we forgive. We will always forgive for a very obvious reason. The person has a value for us. The biggest challenge of forgiveness is when you realize that by not finding a way and continuing to do the wrong things, you need to have attitudes that can make this person aware that they commit with them and others. So forgiving is not just saying, I forgive you. It is also an attitude that needs to cover a little more, that needs to reflect life. Because forgiveness is not a magical attitude, not a simple rule to live, because it has a whole existential dynamic. The rule of forgiveness goes all the time by the analysis of the life we are living, what we are doing to hurt, to offend. And then often, what we need is to be a little harder the moment we forgive. Also putting some rules. Look, sorry. You hurt me in that. And the other has to understand that your word is true, that you cannot put this rule either and not give authority to that rule. Lots of people don't change with us because we don't change either. In the way we demand this respect. Now forgiveness, how many times do I need to forgive? How many times do I have reasons for this? What I fear is that sometimes the relationship is wearing so much that we lose the love that has for each other. And by losing love, losing respect, we lose the desire to forgive. So the big challenge is this. And you who are stepping on the ball too much with someone, be careful. Later, and then he confessed. Why did you lose your girlfriend? So he said like this, Father, I stepped a lot on the ball with her, and she got tired of it. And now I'm fighting to recover. But it's not easy. So you see, here in this case, someone became aware that he was stepping on the ball, that he was not acting correctly. I was not being faithful. I do not know what kind of loyalty it was, that sometimes only now he was suffering the consequences of not being able to value the forgiveness she so often granted to him. So they are two different dynamics. The dynamics of those who give forgiveness is to do everything to keep the love inside in the heart alive. Because if the other continues to make mistakes, we will have to have love reservations to continue helping. Now, on the other side, what is receiving forgiveness, what is being benefited from mercy, also needs to take a position, right? We can't be relaxed now, used to it, oh, the other forgives me, so I will always do everything wrong. No, even in a way of committing to the love you receive. Loving implies obligations, right? And being loved also implies obligations. If I know that person loves me, that she has a respect for me, that she has a love for me, it has to modify the way I interpret her, the way I deal with her. I have to have more tact not to let my worst part prevail. And this is a job every day, my people. It's a job of all the time, because living is not easy. We know that the dynamics of forgiveness is very necessary for human life. It is because we are fragile, and we make many mistakes. We couldn't do good, Sao Paulo already said that. We couldn't do good we want to do, and we often do evil. Now, what? People can't be discouraged, right? We always have to have before us that human experience, however painful it is. It is always worth it. We cannot be discouraged from life. We always need to have this courage to reinvent our meanings every day, our reasons, right? Look at these people we love and renew our commitment to them. Our friends, you who are married, you who have a girlfriend, renew our commitments to our parents. This is so fundamental. A family's life is happier as people renew their bonds. If you do not renew, you risk falling into sameness, in this routine that often strangle the feeling, that atrophy, like the muscle. Right? If you do not exercise for your muscle, it will atrophy. The body will not spend energy on a muscle that is not working. So you have 1,000 muscles on your arm there. I don't know how many muscles you have. How many muscles do you have on your arm? You don't know, right? So it is. The muscle that you move with it will be larger, that you exercise. That's why lifting weight causes the arm to grow, right? because you will recruit muscle fibers that were once asleep. So everyone has a potential to get a tougher, more alive muscles, so to say, more tone. Now, my friend, if you lie on the couch, make a bucket of popcorn, a bucket of Fanta, and go watch the afternoon session every day. And there is no way to the muscles you need to put to exercise, so that they are dynamic and toned all their lives. You run the risk of coming at a time when these muscles will be weak. You will feel a lot of pain. Love is the same thing. It is a muscle that if you do not exercise, dies. No, dies. It is hidden there, sleeping there, calm in the corner there. Let the other fibers work. I do not believe this is our life goal. I believe that for our lives to have quality, we have to discover all the time the small gestures that can make this quality happen. The love we love is made of small gestures. It's attention we give. It's a phone call we make. It's a word we offer. It's attention. It's a gesture, a gift, a memory, anyway. Family love. It lacks all these exercises that make the family strong. Just as exercise strengthens muscle, love strengthens the family. Love strengthens the human relationship. Friends will be more friends as they love each other more. Now, in the dynamics of love is forgiveness. Because no matter how much I wanted to get it right at a few moments of my life, I will make mistakes with that person. Now I need to be aware of how error, when error and why error. And then I will start doing a job with me to try neutralize these situations that make me go wrong. And then the old question comes in that I never get tired of talking. Self-knowledge. My people. Find out how its operation is. What annoys you? What makes you reach the limit? And it begins to be disciplined to be able to work on these issues. Do not settle. Do not let yourself accommodate, just as the muscle of our body is often accommodated, which no longer wants to do anything else, which already gives itself to weakness. No. We will be very strong in every way. We will have interior disposition to love, to forgive how many times it is. Now, I need to be willing to avoid hurt. That's the big question. We often want the other to forgive us, but we have no willingness to else what hurts away. Then we are justified. Oh, I'm anyway. I'm anyway is a sentence that only suits us dead. Right there in the deceased and speak. I'm like that. And the deceased has every right to be anyway. He will only change to worse. He will undo everything there. Now, how many times do I find people who are justifying their aggressive behaviors behind it? Don't mess with me because I'm anyway. I'm explosive. I'm it. I'm that. Please. But you don't have to be a lifetime like that. Either you are so unable to deal with yourself or you is so unwell to deal with yourself. Who says you have to die that way? You don't have to settle, or you don't believe in God's strength. I look at myself, Even today I was talking about it. I look at me, the boy I was, shy, fearful. I am still shy today, but I bring it under control, because my mission asks me that. I do not have the right to be a gagged priest in my fears, but my mission has no quality. I cannot say I am a priest and no preach. I will not do my humilia. I will not guide the people. I have no right to do this. So I need to make my personal struggle against my weaknesses and in favor of my virtues. So you see, this word, I'm like this, not mute, only serves for those who have died. Do not admit that you use this expression to justify yourself. Do not justify your mistakes. The worst thing you have is that you live with a person who does not assume that he was wrong and justifies all the time to herself and others because who made a mistake. Okay, forgiveness is there to be given, to be offered. But we need to know that forgiveness has to motivate us to concrete attitudes of change. I need to forgive more and have less need to be forgiven. This is our life project. Because when God changes our hearts, He gives us a lot of willingness to forgive and gives us strength.
Thank you for joining us on this spiritual journey at Path of Faith. Your participation is key to our community's growth, so please leave your comments, give us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more uplifting content.